Bleh, 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 bleh. Here we are now with episode 7 of Learning to Breathe. Last episode, we were talking about sex and intimacy, and I thought I'd add a few things that are sort of related to that field, and that is masturbation and giving birth. Now, masturbation and giving birth, they're probably not related in and of themselves, and it might feel a bit weird to have those two together in this same category or episode, but how we categorize all these amazing and wonderful breathing techniques that we're talking about, it's really just a matter of the order that we put them in or how we skewer the threads. My hope is that you listen to the entire series and then you can see how it's all related and how there are themes that come up again and again for each of these. So think of this episode as sort of two parts. First part, masturbation. Second part, giving birth. And of course, go back and listen to all of the episodes that we've done so far in this series, because they all build on each other and they all relate to each other. And there's so many connections that you can make for yourself. Okay, masturbation. God damn, masturbation. Sexual frustration. Loneliness. Are there any single guys out there? Lonely guys sitting in their room feeling sexually frustrated? Man, what? Like, sexual energy, what am I supposed to do with this? It's just like, God damn, I've been given all these desires. Thank you, God. No way of satisfying them. So much tension in the body. So much just, like, what am I supposed to do with all this sexual energy? This is a topic that everyone has to deal with. This is something that is part of our human nature. Sexual satisfaction and having that someone that they can explore with, that you can explore with is, well, it's a rare and beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And even if you're in a relationship, damn, sexual frustration. I don't have enough sex even though I have a relationship or I have an intimate partner. Or an impotent, that was a funny Freudian slip. I have an impotent partner, so I'm sexually frustrated. Well, whether you're a guy or a girl, masturbation still applies. We all have a sexuality that we explore on our own at some point in our life. Now, there's no black and white answer for masturbation, because on one hand you can say, don't do it. Wanking is bad. I'm not saying that here. Wanking is like smoking, in my eyes. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, that being said, if you want to balance your energies and you want to be developing and actualizing into higher realms of phenomenological experiencing, doing a no-fap challenge, giving up your wanking is a great way to do that. Wanking does not help your balancing of the energies, and it does not help your sexual energies. And breathing techniques are the best way to go about doing that. If you're waking up with a massive stiffy every morning and you've got this centralized sexual frustration and you have this urge to jerk off, then the best way you can do to curb that is to do a breathing technique. Let me explain one to you. Here's one that will help. You got to understand that the machinery, otherwise known as your cock or your vagina, your pussy, that's an energy center. And when you're sexually frustrated and you have the urge to masturbate, all the energy is there. Now, ideally, to curb this or to iron this out, we want to flow and have the energy moving through all of the body. We want to take off the peak and flatten out the spike. Now, the funny thing about the sexual urge is that you enjoy it. You actually want the spike. It feels great. And that's where the dilemma of sexual frustration comes in, because you like it and you want it and it's like, yes, it's there, but also there's no way of really satisfying it. And then there's this cringe that's, oh no, I don't want it because I have nothing to do with it. There's nowhere to put it. So this vice between wanting and not wanting it, like I really don't like this pleasure, or I really hate this pleasure, or I like to not like this, that's where this sexual frustration comes from. So this energy center of your machinery is too much. There's too much there. So next time you feel the urge to wank, try this breathing technique. What you do is you place one hand on your heart in the middle of your chest, sort of right between your breasts if you're a woman, or right between your rib cages if you're a man or a woman, and you can feel your rib cages through your breasts. And then the other hand you place on your forehead, the palm of your hand, right where the third eye would be if you're an Egyptian god and you have three eyes, right in the middle, right between the eyebrows, and you use the palm of your hands. Now, what you can do is you breathe into each of these and you take turns. So it's a 4-part breathing pattern, but it's basically, think of it as permutations, and you do every permutation. Do you know what permutations are? Basically, you're doing iterations in every version in every way. So you can breathe into your hand that is on your heart, and you can breathe into the hand that is on your head. And then what you can do is you swap the hands. You have the other hand on your heart and the other hand on your head. And that will reveal, even just doing that is enough to show how you're off balanced, how much there is a mismatch between these two. Now, while you're sitting there with your massive raging hard on and you're breathing into these parts, you might want to do sets of each. So breathing 10 times into your heart or into the hand on your heart, and then 10 times into your forehead or the hand on your forehead, and then swap, and then into the heart again, and then into the head again. That's a big set. That's 40 breaths that you're doing. And if you're doing it as 4-part breathing, you're slowing the breaths. As you do that, you will start to feel your sex center even out. It will flow. You'll have your blood flowing into different parts of the body. Now, really, we should be able to have sexual energy as something that sparks us and brings us alive without the frustration. And balancing it is the way to do that. So try that one out next time instead of having a wank. And there's another one which is similar to this one, which is you breathe, you do circular, it's sort of like a visualization of circular breathing. And you breathe, when you breathe in, you imagine your energy going up your spine, up your back, over to the top of your head. And when you breathe out, you imagine the energy going down the front, down your nose, your chin, your chest, your belly button, and back into it. That will also help, depending on how strong your visualization is, that will help get the blood circulating and the air flowing into your blood differently. And that will smooth out this energy, this blood in your machinery that you've got going. Now, I'm assuming here that visualization and breathing into something is clear to you. And this is one of those things that comes up. These are two things that come up again and again throughout the whole episode. They're sort of staples or fundamental principles of breathing techniques. A visualization is where it is what it is. You close your eyes and you have a vision. It's a picture, or it's an action moving of what is happening in your mind. So you're using your mind coupled with the breathing technique to make it happen, to make it work, to cause its effect. Now, that's visualizations, and there's a whole range of visualizations that go with breathing techniques. And there's also visualizations which are separate to breathing techniques. You might have self-esteem or future working or all sorts of things that go with visualizations. But here we're talking about visualizations with techniques, breathing techniques. And it's the intention of where you place the focus of your awareness, your concentration, that helps to circulate your blood flow. It's quite amazing that you might not even believe this, but if you think hard enough about a body part and you focus enough on it and you give it enough attention, more energy will go there, more blood will flow there, more oxygen will go there. And athletes and sports performers understand this, and they work with visualizations to help optimize their performance. So performance visualization is a whole nother category of visualizations. So that's what I'm assuming you understand when I say visualize the sexual energy flowing from the up your back, up your spine, up the back of your head, over the top, and back down again. And that can curb your hard-on. That can help you with your urge to masturbate. Now, the other one I was mentioning is the breathing into something. Now, when I say your hand's on your chest and your hand is on your head, and you are breathing into them, you basically imagine that when you breathe out, well, there's two polarized sides to it. There's breathing out, and when the air goes out, that air that you're breathing out, it's actually filling the hand. You're actually pushing the air into it as if the hand was hollow, or the area where that hand is hollow. And then when you're breathing in, you're sucking it out. You're sucking it. Now, I'm wondering if I've got this right, and it might not be the other way around, where you're breathing in and then you're filling it, or you're breathing out and then you're emptying it. Experiment with both. Do it as permutations and see which one has a better effect for you. And we talked about breathing into body parts when we were talking about the water episode, underwater breathing. And when you're floating there and you're breathing into a certain body part, that body part will rise, that will float more, because the intention will be there more. So experiment with that, and you really just have to take this as a general understanding for breathing techniques of what it means to breathe into something, to go into something with the breath. It's really just a matter of directing the intention of your blood flow and directing the attention of your nervous system. So that's at least two techniques for masturbation. And we'll talk more about masturbation and nofap and sexual frustration another day, because it's such a big thing. It's entwined in our humanity. The sexual urge particularly for testosterone-driven men, young men, it's just, we can't ignore it. There's so much in our society that revolves around sexual frustration and sex, and it's not going away. There are more and more lonely people in the world today because, of course, there's more people, and of course, we're not as connected. Well, let's not get into a commentary on civilization. Let's just say enough that it's something that we all need to be paying attention to and we all need to be aware of. So my advice, do a no-fap challenge. Go 90 days without jerking off. And when you get the urge, when you have the spike and you feel like wanking, do one of these breathing techniques. And I wish you all the best for it. So now we can move into part 2 of this episode, which is giving birth. Now, when we talk about sex and masturbation, usually the last thing on our minds is the moment when we're successful with that intention, primally speaking, perhaps evolutionary speaking. There's a book called Birth Skills by Juju Sundin and Sarah Murdoch. Juju Sundin. I don't know how to pronounce Juju Sundin. However you pronounce it, the book's called Birth Skills. And in this book, one of the key things that it says about what it's going to be like for a woman to give birth is the breathing technique. As the title of the book suggests, you need to practice the skills that you're going to use when you give birth. Now, this is really hard for men to imagine, really. And I mean, how many men actually think this through? Something is coming in 9 months' time, which is going to completely change your entire body. And it's going to be this huge event. It's going to tear you apart. And not just physically, but also chemically and emotionally, hormonally. Your whole system is going to be rewired through this massive overhaul of your biology. Now, what is that? What is that? What's happening? What must that be like? And in this book, Birth Skills, the author says that just the daunting nature of giving birth is so much for women. And just having someone to say, look, it's going to be okay. It's happened before. It doesn't have to be a painful thing. It doesn't have to be such a daunting thing. There are ways through it, and there are skills that you can build. Just in and that of itself is enough to help women. Now, this book is a bit of a self-help book, and it doesn't cover existential, grand, deep. Like, it's not deep. It's more practical, and it's more for the people who, if you read it, you're not really a self-help junkie. It's just sort of entry-level self-help stuff. But if you're going to give birth, it's like, get all the help you need, get everything that you have, because she says in this book that if you have the idea that you're going to just lie on your back, open your legs, and, I'll give birth, that's what will happen, then forget about it, because you need to be prepared for all sorts of things. You need to be prepared for all sorts of positions. You need to be prepared for all sorts of pains. You need to be prepared for all sorts of things that might happen, how long you go for. So practicing breathing is one of the tricks to that. Now, a common mistake that people make with giving birth is the push. So when the woman's told to push at the appropriate time, as guided by their doctor, sometimes some women breathe into their neck. So they're pushing, and their glands, their jugular glands in the side of their necks is expanding. And you can try this. If you hold your breath and then push upwards, you can feel your neck expanding. Now, that's an example of what it means to breathe into a body part. Now, if you're giving birth and you're breathing into your neck, that's just going to make you more choked, and it's not going to help the baby come out. So learning to breathe into your sex center, your lower pelvic area, is a key skill for giving birth. And then also, pain the natural thing with pain is to hold your breath. When you're in pain, the initial instinct is to hold your breath, which she talks about in this book. So learning to remain calm and let your breathing flow, even while there's pain happening, will help you maintain the pain and keep the pain as something that's within a larger context. Now, what's great about this book, and I mean, there's a lot of things in it, but one of the things is when she's talking about pain, she says that you give birth and there's pain in your pelvic area and in your vagina, but that's only one area. That doesn't mean that your hands are in pain or your arms are in pain or your shoulders are in pain or your head is in pain. Now, if you maintain an awareness and a relaxation with all other body parts, the pain remains as something that is a part of your experience. It's a smaller part of your experience. If you focus on it and you choke and you're stressed by it or you hold your breath, then the pain becomes all of your experience. It means that the only thing you can experience is where the baby is, where the womb is, and what's happening there. The only thing you feel and that you can concentrate on, it feels like your whole experience is just what's happening with the birth in the exact area. So breathing, and if you think you're just going to walk into your labor session and say, oh, I'm just going to remember to breathe, think again, because practicing, think of it like this. There's something to be said about training for a performance. You have this event coming of bringing a child into the world, and I'm sure all mothers have this instinct. All would-be pregnant women have this instinct that something big is coming and I have to prepare. I have to train. I have to practice. And even in this book, there's a whole lot of physical exercises. She says that adrenaline needs body movement. So there's all these things like rocking and swaying, kinds of pacing, stepping, marching, water stomping, calf sliding, wall sliding, palms on thighs, yoga ball bouncing. Yoga is another part of the birthing process, and there's certain forms of yoga that can help with this. But it's all part of your trick for how to give birth and to how to have a successful birth. There's also a lot in this book about the visualizations of the breath. And there are certain things like the groaning and the moaning of push and yelling. Now the pain and the drama of the birth, the woman needs to have free rein to make noise and to just, the screams of the paternity ward. That's a particular characteristic of the paternity ward. And for good reason, because the voice and the air and how air works is all connected. And this physical process is also an energetic process. So keep that in mind next time you're having a baby. I can't imagine what it's like. I've actually never been present for a birth. I would like to. Not enough to make a baby of my own just for that reason. I don't think that's a good motivation for having a baby. And I don't know who would allow me to attend theirs, and I don't know if it's something that I would really go out of my way to do. But this is an astonishing event, and if you're with a partner, you're going to be bonded through this amazing, extraordinary experience of bringing a human being into the world. And think of it like it's a life event, so take it respectfully, train for it. And read books like Birth Skills by Juju Sundin and Sarah Murdoch. I don't know I should also mention, I know I always say this, but I get no affiliate marketing for this. This is just free exposure for them. I'm just talking about it as an example. I'm sure there are lots of books out there about giving birth. So put together a bag of tricks that you can use. And also, I would add, have an existential element to it. Have a philosophical element to it. Have a deep conversation about what does it mean for you and your partner to bring a human being into the world. Most partners, they say, wow, it's so surreal. I can't believe what's happening. This is such an amazing, intense experience. I know someone said to me, I won't say who, but they said, don't ever get someone pregnant that you don't love. And it was very funny when he said that, because it's just like, of course, common sense, right? Don't get someone pregnant that you don't want to bring a baby into the world with. But there's such a deep truth to that. Like, if you're going to do this fiery, deep passion of love has to be there. And there has to be no doubt about it. If you're going to be a supporting man for your woman when giving birth, well, you should learn some breathing techniques too. You should learn to be acutely aware to your girlfriend, your partner's breathing patterns. So you can learn these techniques as well, and you can help this when you're supporting her. Like the husband skill, like the man's skills for giving birth should be taken just as seriously as for the woman, if not more so. So, wow, yeah, I can't imagine what it's like. I don't know if it will ever happen for me. Who knows? I mean, let's not make this about me. I just felt that, I read this book and I had this friend who had a child, and I was talking to her and what it was like, and I was very glad that she was able to open to me and share her opinions and really tell me in detail what an amazing experience, like difficult as well. Like, it's not, we say the beauty of birth, but I don't want to downplay the violent nature of it. It is a very deep struggling thing. And I mean, you can read cross-cultural studies where it's not always like that. Not every woman gives birth in pain. And in fact, even in some cultures, the birthing process is an orgasm for the woman. It's a reversal of the negativity. And there's actually a point where intense feeling as pain is actually intense feeling as pleasure. And that's a big jump to make. That's a journey to realizing that experientially, that any intense feeling can be pleasurable, even if it's conventionally, culturally considered painful. And, well, one of the ways to do that is to have your breathing techniques, to understand the relationship between breathing and pain, and breathing into body parts and having body parts in pain and yet still being aware of other body parts. So that's a lot. This is a dense episode. I hope you've enjoyed. Probably it's a broad, like sex and intimacy. The episode before this was the act of sex. And then we also have sex as in more broadly of our sexuality. Like there's the biological side of it, and there's the cultural side of it, and there's the personal side of it with masturbation and the phenomenological experience of sexual frustration. So that's an individual, personal thing. And then these sort of books are, this lady, Juju Sundin, she's been a midwife for thousands of births. She's run hundreds of classes, and she's heard all sorts of stories. So someone who's seen the birthing process firsthand for hundreds and thousands of times, they learn a thing or two. They learn certain things of what works and what doesn't. So always listen to them. Always listen to your wiser people. Always read the books about things that you don't know. Just read more. That's a good advice in and of itself. Just read more, find out more. Listen to the people that know what they're talking about. Okay, I'm starting to babble. So this has been Learning to Breathe, episode 7. I sincerely hope you enjoy. And if you're feeling lonely, you're feeling sexually frustrated, don't worry, because so am I. Okay, I've officially said too much about myself. So let me stop right there. And that's all I have to say for now.